Well, good morning, and welcome to City Talk. It's a weekly radio program, it's a podcast, it's a television program. We're here at the City of Waco. We communicate the great things happening in Waco. I'm Larry Holsey, and I want to welcome our guest today, Terri Cox, who is the Executive Director of the Park Zoological and Botanical Society. Good morning, Terri.
Good morning.
You've been on this program for as many years as I can remember, because you've served so many different roles at the Park Zoo. But you are the Executive Director of the now, as it's been separated, a couple of years now, I guess? Mm-hmm. The Botanical Society, the Park Zoological and Botanical Society,
right,
is separate from the zoo itself.
Well, no, it's always been a separate entity that is the fundraising entity.
Okay.
The difference was that the Zoological Society used to hire the zoo director, and there was only one director.
Okay.
And it was under contract with the city. Now we are still contracted with the city as basically what we do is develop the new exhibits, fundraisers for those new exhibits, and once the new exhibits are built, they become property of the City of Waco, and the City of Waco maintains them. We also help raise funds for staff development, both for the city and society staff. For animal enrichment is one of our key things that we do, and then all the conservation work that the zoo does, we fund. So it's a great partnership. We've grown, so it really was hard for one person to be over both entities. So between Chris Van Skyke, who is the zoo director, Johnny Binder, who is the deputy director, who oversees all the animal care and facilities maintenance, the three of us have a really good partnership and work to expand the zoo and make it the best that it can be.
And that's what's exciting about it. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because you have a couple of your major fundraisers coming up, and that's what we want to talk about and make sure that people know about the opportunities out there. And talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the zoo's operations, fundraising, and things like that, and see where the status of the zoo and the future of the zoo, because I know you've always got projects running and working, and we'll talk about some of those too. But let's kind of take a step back and let's talk about how has the COVID-19 pandemic, as hopefully we're winding that down a little bit more and more with more and more people getting the vaccinations and the herd immunity happening, and the number of cases, all this is declining, hopefully, to the positive. Talk to us about how last year, how it happened and how the zoo has survived.
Well, our zoo and zoos around the nation have been hard hit by COVID-19. We were closed for 3 months, and some zoos were closed or still closed around the country. And so if you don't have guests coming in, that's one thing, but the animals have to be fed, the facility still has to be maintained, and so there are still a lot of cost. And we were really lucky on both sides that we have such community support, and we have a very well-organized City of Waco government that no employees lost their job at the zoo because of COVID-19. So we're really proud of that. We've been steadily making up ground, though. The Zoological Society, as I said, is the fundraising arm of the zoo, and so we were not able to hold events, or we do a lot of evening rentals at the zoo, weddings, corporate parties, birthday parties throughout the day when the zoo's open. So those things had to be put on hold during the most severe COVID restrictions, and of course when we were closed. So now things are getting a little bit back to normal. We're operating at 75%. The zoo still is using an abundance of caution. We have visitors from all over the country and come to the zoo. We want to be careful, so we do ask that people wear their mask inside, of course, but there are some areas of the zoo where we ask that people wear masks because our animals can catch COVID via human transmission. Several of the species are susceptible to that. So you'll see signs and banners asking people to wear their mask, even if it's outside. When we're near our big cats, our primates, particularly the orangutans and the tigers. We ask that people wear their masks so that we can keep the animals safe. And for the most part, I think people really want to keep the animals and each other safe, and so we're hoping that will continue. As you said, numbers are declining, so we're able to host more events now, although we do have certain restrictions on them, and we're hoping that as things move along, we'll be able to open up more animal encounters to the public, the giraffe eating and that sort of thing, on a regular basis again.
Well, it's been a challenge, I know, but like you said, the animals continue to grow, and they have babies, and we'll talk about Zeke a little bit to get you an update on that. But it's been very trying times, but I think you're so wise to take the precautions, because we forget the fact that we are attracting people from all across the nation to Waco for various reasons, and the zoo is one of in fact, the most popular attraction outside of some of the commercial attractions, maybe, that are out there. But and it's great to partnership. But then your staff has been, I know, just so dedicated and hardworking. Had to go through the big freeze week. That was just amazing.
Yes.
You took good care of them, and it's a great operation out there. And I just want our listeners and viewers to be able to know. I appreciate the staff and how hard. And I'm glad nobody lost their job during all this pandemic. But hopefully, like you say, everybody is used to wearing masks, so it's kind of a common thing. You just get out of your car and you put it on, and you go into wherever you are. So I don't think your restrictions at the zoo with masking is really any different than what would normally be expected. So
and we provide, if people forgot their mask or think that they don't have to have one because it's a outside venue, they provide them a mask as they come in.
That's good. Well, bring us up to date with Zeke, because Zeke was one of the products that's happened during the pandemic, and it's a giraffe, baby giraffe. Talk about Zeke, and he was born, he was like 130 pounds or something, pretty big.
135 pounds and 6 feet tall as a newborn. He was born in January, and so now his last weight was last week. And he was 275 pounds, and he is 7 feet 3 inches now.
I guess.
Growing boy, and he's just adorable. His parents are taking very good care of him. He is a Maasai giraffe. We also have an elderly reticulated giraffe that is in the exhibit that had over the course of her life several babies of her own, but she is one of the oldest giraffes in captivity right now. But she's even kind of become the grandma figure, and has been very attentive to him as well. So it's fun to watch the interactions of Zeke and the different animals in the yard.
Now, is Zeke out on display all the time during good days?
Yes,
if the weather's nice?
Yes, he is, and he is, mornings especially, he's pretty rambunctious. Sometimes in the afternoons he's napping, but he is just an adorable little guy. Not so little guy.
Yeah. Well, but giraffes are just beautiful animals, first of all, so they're unique compared to anything else. And you have other babies out there, and we won't get into naming all. Mention, but we've got
some cute little reptiles. We have a baby alligator that's on exhibit in our Brazos River Country exhibit, and then there's some others that are important for conservation, like the baby Aruba Island rattlesnake, which is an endangered species of rattlesnake that we have. But of course, those are not where people see them. A lot of people don't realize the number of animals that we keep, especially in the reptile and amphibian sector, that are endangered, and we breed them to help repopulate species. We are involved in numerous conservation programs around the world, and also research projects that help with animal welfare.
I know accreditation has been a big project for you all constantly, because it's a very valuable asset to have that type of worldwide accreditation, which just puts you in a unique category compared to many animal houses or homes or zoos. Talk a little bit about the accreditation and where we are on that, because that's something I know that's very hard to achieve, but you all have already done a great job on that.
The zoo is accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which is the foremost accrediting body for zoos around the world. we have had our accreditation since we opened the zoo, and we're very proud of that. It's every 5-year process, and they look at every single aspect of our operations, from our animal care and welfare, our veterinary program, our education program, guest services, budgets. Both the support society, the zoological society, and the city side of the operation are looked at from all directions, and it is a very intense process. We put together a manual of all of our reports and operations that we send into AZA, and they put together a team of zoo professionals from other zoos that actually come to our zoo and spend usually around 3 to 4 days inspecting the zoo physically, eating in our cafes, talking to guests, talking to our board members, talking to our city government, and really get a feel for how our zoo is operating, and then we hopefully after that they send us we sit down and they talk about any concerns that they have, and we correct those if needed, and then we go to a hearing. And at that hearing, the inspection will take place next fall, and then the hearing will take place in March. We will know if we have achieved another accreditation. It was delayed by a year because of COVID, so that's a it's
How
a
long is
challenge.
accreditation good for?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
So this is not a yearly process. It sounds like a very long, tedious project. And for 1 year, that would be a lot of work constantly.
Right, but throughout every year, we are reaching and maintaining AZA standards, which are constantly raising the bar, and so there are. The number of AZA accredited institutions varies from year to year, because some people may not get their accreditation and have to go back and try again. But there are around 200 zoos at any given time that have achieved that goal, and that it's a very renowned organization.
I was going to say, that's worldwide. That's a very small number, but does put you in a very prestigious ranking. And it's great to do that. Now, you all just finished spring break, which is always typically one of the largest attendance, bringing in a lot of visitors from out of town, first of all, but our local people get to enjoy it. How was spring break this year? Because we were still in the pandemic mode. How did you all survive, and how were the numbers?
The numbers were amazing. We are operating at 75% capacity, so there were days that we were really having to count and make sure that we didn't allow too many people in at one time, but we came through it just great. The exact numbers for the 2 weeks of spring break I do not have, but I have our month-end numbers, which are 64,666 people came through the zoo during the month of March.
Wow.
So that's pretty
Of
impressive. And of course, last year we closed after the first week of spring break. So last year we only had 22,270 people through the gate. But even this year's number beats even the year before.
Really? I was going to ask that.
Yeah, it was around 54,000.
It's really hard to believe that we've already been in this full year, and it was impacting the zoo and all attractions, for that matter, last year.
Right, and it's been interesting, like projecting for budgets and that sort of thing. We kind of have to look back at 19 to see how many people came through the zoo, because there are several months there that we had no one.
Absolutely. And in that process, you've been very creative as far as what you've done at the zoo, creating like scavenger hunts and things like that are not so much people. Talk about the scavenger hunt and how that's been working. I think you're still doing those.
Yes. We do both a program called Wild Nights, which has a scavenger hunt component, but it's an evening program on Fridays that we put people in groups. It's groups of 10 or less. So we try to keep everybody socially distanced and with their group. And then during the day on weekends, and we offered it every day during spring break, but on certain weekends we've offered scavenger hunts. And it's an app that you download, and then it's an interactive tour through the zoo where you do different things and answer different questions. People have really loved it, and it changes. So it's not, you may come, well, our last one was a week or so, last week, and it was a Disney theme. Our next one is, let's see, that scavenger hunt is April 24th, and it is a Party for the Planet. It's a scavenger hunt that has to do with conservation and that sort of thing. So it's our Party for the Planet's scavenger hunt. And we'll have a few vendors also there to talk about green initiatives and that sort of thing for Party of the for the Planet. We also have, if you check our website, we have different scavenger hunts each month. I think we have one in May for endangered species, and then June 5th for World Oceans Day. So those are really fun. Also, this month in April, every Friday night, we are partnering with the wetlands, and our herpetologists are giving tours, evening tours of the wetlands, where you can see lots of frogs. They caught this past Friday, they caught 3 different snakes to show the people, and it's a pretty fun event for you to take your family out and go for a nice walk after dinner.
Yeah. If you just joined us, we're visiting with Terri Cox, who is Executive Director of the Cameron Park Zoological and Botanical Society, who is the fundraising arm, I guess it is, of our Cameron Park Zoo. And that's what I want to talk about now for sure, because we have coming up 2 actually fundraisers in the future here. One of them coming up right away is your very popular Kids Zoobilee. You've been doing this for as long as I can remember, certainly, as the zoo, but it's opportunity for kids to come out with families, of course, at a very modest cost as it is, but it all goes for fundraising for a lot of the projects that you've been describing here in our first part of this. Talk about Kids Zoobilee this year. How is it going to be different? Maybe we didn't even have it last year.
Right, right. Kids Zoobilee is one of our capital fundraisers. This year we've made some changes. In the past, we've had food samplings that people took. In the interest of COVID, we really can't do that. And we've also limited the numbers a bit. Just to keep everyone safe, we will have 500 people at Kids Zoobilee. We've already sold about 360 tickets, so we encourage people to buy their tickets online because it does sell out. This year the price has been lowered. You don't hear that very often, but we lowered the price of the ticket, $20 per person. Kids under 2 get in free. It is geared for 2 and up. So there are a lot of different activities that the kids and adults can take place in. We will have different food trucks for food for purchase this year. So since we did lower the price of the ticket, but you can purchase your food at one of the food trucks or the Zoo Cafe. We'll have kiosks out there. And we have a number of different activities. The entire zoo is open. It's May 1st. It's from 6:30 to 8:30. Animals are out until around 7:30. They have to start putting them up before it gets dark. So animals are definitely out till 7:30, so you can go through the zoo. And then we also have a number of activities. We have stilt walkers and other characters like fairies that will interact with the kids. We have a rock climbing wall, a train, a child-sized mechanical bull, which was, it's adorable. We had that 2 years ago, and it was a big hit. We have a Euro bungee and an inflatable zip line. All of our activities have operators and will be disinfected in between. And so we're really excited about the event. It's Kids Zoobilee presented by Reliant, and it has been a huge draw for many years, and it is always a fun evening for families.
A family, you mentioned about the reservation for the kids 2 years and above. Obviously, the parents come with this as well, so you don't just drop your kids off.
Right, it's tickets for everybody.
For everybody. So what's the cost?
$20 per person.
Per person.
Yeah, and you receive a T-shirt, which is adorable this year because of celebrating Zeke. We have a giraffe T-shirt, and the giraffe is sporting sunglasses. He's super cool. And we'll be giving all the kids and adults sunglasses as well, and T-shirts for everyone who buys a ticket. If the tickets were purchased before April 19th, you get to choose your size. After that, the later tickets bought, we'll get a T-shirt to you. We can't guarantee a size because we got to order the T-shirts.
I understand that. Well, it's always such a fun experience, and I mean that because it's an experience to enjoy the zoo, number one, but then you add to it all the other fun things, activities. It makes it a carnival. In fact, I don't know if too many school carnivals and everybody else carnivals that have silk person and some of the...
Or giraffes and orangutans.
Yeah, exactly right. To see that too. It's a great deal. But again, this is a major fundraiser for the zoo, one of two, and we'll talk about the other one, the regular Jubilee, coming up here. But that's just a great way of providing the funding for many of the new exhibits that you create. You help some of the capital improvements. I know we'll talk a little bit, hopefully before we run up, about the new veterinary hospital and some of the other facilities that were paid for or voted on by a bond issue, I think. But anything that sometimes the little amenities that you don't think about, you all help bring those in if we have to, past what the city budget does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So some of our other fundraisers that we do throughout the year are the Brew at the Zoo fundraiser in October, and that is another major fundraiser, and that's for adults only, obviously. We are in the early planning stages of a really special event. It's a penguin fundraiser, and it will be June 4th of 2022. So that's put it on your calendar and wait for the information, because it's going to be a pretty exclusive event that will raise funds for the new penguin habitat. We did pass a bond that includes our renovation of our hoofstock barn, a new education and veterinary complex, and a new penguin exhibit. The bond was for about $14.5 million. We had $1.2 million in private donations. $1 million of that was to go to the education and veterinary complex, and $200,000 was a result of one of our fundraisers for penguins earlier, one of the older Jubilee ones. Now we're still raising funds, because when we pass a bond, there's usually a lag time between when we plan for the bond and we price out the project, and the bond passes, and then we start construction. And with COVID, we are seeing a huge hike in construction materials, in prices for building things. So you will see us continually raising funds to help finish off these projects. One of the things that's really interesting to me is how the shipping industry has affected all of us, because, for instance, the docks in California, they're only allowing so many workers on the docks at a time because of COVID. There are ships stacked up waiting to be offloaded. Some of those have construction materials, but also some of them have merchandise. Our zootiques and the gift shops and stuff are, really scrambling to get the merchandise, because, it's a backup. And the pandemic has affected us in so many ways that sometimes you don't realize unless you're doing projects, like expansion projects like we're doing, or trying to stock the gift shop, or that sort of thing. So it's been a challenging year, and I'm so excited about the expansion project. It's moving along, and we're excited to have it happen.
Have you already gone through the design stage pretty much, so you have that? Or
on the hoofstock barn, yes. And it has gone out to bid, and so we should see construction start on that. This summer, you'll see our overflow parking. We have a gravel parking lot. A TIF grant was granted to the zoo for that project, and so it will start. It will be under construction this summer. We're trying to wait till after May. We're our really busiest season. Right. So it's desperately needed. Anyone that comes to the zoo on a weekend knows how badly we need that paved parking lot.
It's hard to pick a time when y'all are not busy.
It is.
It's getting that way. I mean, obviously spring break we know about, but then, like I said, throughout the summer months and things, probably slows down during the winter a little bit. But at the same time, Just it's such a success story out there, and with the new exhibits, I can only imagine what it's going to be like with the. Now, the veterinary hospital, where is it going to be located?
Our veterinary hospital and education building are one complex, and it will be. If you are standing in front of the zoo looking out towards 4th Street, there's a wooden gate that you'll see. Behind that is some of our service area. That's where that building will be built. And it will face our parking lot and have a bus drop-off in front of it for school children. So we're really excited about that exhibit. It offers us some additional classroom space, some exhibit space to host traveling exhibits, and also some rental space. Or, when we have our events happen, like Kids Zoobilee will happen rain or shine. But it would be nice to have an indoor space for those rain or shine type of moments. So it will offer us some space for events indoors as well. And then, of course, the veterinary hospital. Our collection is over 1,400 animals, and we have a very small veterinary clinic. Right now, it was built when we had 56 animals, so we need the space.
Yes, absolutely. To talk about Jubilee itself, when has the date on that been decided?
We are not doing Jubilee for adults anymore because we switched over to doing Brew at the Zoo. And then doing specialized events like the Penguin event, or the last Jubilee was the 2018, the 25th anniversary Jubilee. So we're just kind of moving away from it every year big adult fundraiser and focusing more on some specialized events. It's at Brew at the Zoo. I mean, we did some interesting things with Brew at the Zoo this past year because it was right after we had opened up after COVID and we were trying to keep the numbers in check. We did Brew at the Zoo over 3 days and only allowed 250 people in at a time. We got such positive feedback of having smaller numbers. We decided that we will do it 2 nights rather than 1, but limit the number of people to around 500 because it's usually 1,000 people at Brew. And I think it's interesting how COVID has taught us to think out of the box, and sometimes we've come up with some better ideas just because of that. And we're seeing like a huge uptick in virtual programming from our education department. While people still love to come to the zoo, teachers are taking advantage of our virtual programs.
I have a couple of minutes left. I want to make sure we talk about a couple of things I know you all are heavily involved in need of. It's volunteers, and you talk about corporate sponsors for certain events, having the community step forward in many ways, but volunteering sometime.
We do always need volunteers. You can check on our website. There's a tab for volunteers, and it will tell you how right now we've been doing volunteer training virtually through Zoom. So we do need volunteers. We will start our kids volunteer program. It's 14 to 17-year-olds, and it's called Zoo Crew. The deadline for that is pretty much today. I mean, it's the April 19th for the applications to get in, but the group is a wonderful group of teenagers that help with zoo camps and a lot of other projects through the zoo. It's a good program to be in if your child is about that age or going to be that age. Look at it for the upcoming years. We also, as I said, host a lot of corporate events, weddings. We've had a huge number of last-minute weddings because a lot of the
Other
indoor
venues,
places can't have them, and so we've had quite a few weddings, and we also do birthday parties at the zoo. So there's always something going on. We do zoo snoozes as well. A lot of scout troops. We've started those back. There are some special safety precautions because of COVID. But we've started the zoo snoozes back, and of course I mentioned the wild nights earlier.
Absolutely. Terri Cox, who is Executive Director of the Park Zoological and Botanical Society, has been our guest on City Talk. Terri, I always appreciate all the energy you have and the love you have for the animals and our zoo. success between Chris Van Skyke, like you say, the director of the zoo, and Johnny Binder, and all the staff that's out there. Work hard to take care of the animals, number one, but make it a great experience for every time I go out there. It's always something new I see, and I've been there so many times. And the best way to get it is a family membership or a grandparent member. All the different memberships here you have available that get you unlimited access to the zoo and be able to get out there. But the money that you raise in the Zoological Society helps fund a lot of the things that are not paid for with tax money. So we encourage everybody to come and be a part of that. I really appreciate it so much, first of all, you taking the time to come in because there's always something happening out there. But thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you all for watching and listening, and hope you'll join us again next week for more information about the City of Waco here on City Talk. This program is produced by the Municipal Information Department of the City of Waco, and is provided as a public service by this station.